Well, hello, how are you? Good to see you here. My name is Jeff, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm an old man who likes talking about, well, old movies and forgotten actors. And lately I've been running through all the films that have been shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Right now we're in Season 3. But before I get started, I want to give a thank you out to all those that took the time to watch my latest video on Virginia Weidler. Virginia was a child actor in the 1930s, and her story is pretty interesting, even though my documentary may be a bit long. So feel free to watch it, it's on my channel anyway. And I want to give a shout out to my buddies over in Australia. They have a YouTube channel called the Sci-Fi Zone, and they have a new documentary out called American Sci-Fi on Television, the first 10 years, 1949 to 1959. It's a very well done, well-researched documentary about the early days of science fiction on TV. I think you should give it a watch. I'll have a link to it in the show notes below. So today I'm going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on July 13th, 1991. It's the 1987 Japanese science fiction film Time of the Apes. Well, actually it's from 1974-75, but we'll get into that a little later. It stars all these wonderful people and was directed by these two guys. This was the MST3K episode in which Joel and the bots play T-ball and put a hole in the satellite of love. Joel invents the cellulite phone, and the Mads create a miracle baby growth formula. Yikes. They wonder why Johnny doesn't care, and there's a reenactment of the Scopes monkey trial. Now this is the point of the show where I usually read from the posters, but as you can see there isn't much to read, so why don't we just sit back and enjoy this poster artwork. So, Time of the Apes. Before we get started, I think we need to talk about Sandy Frank. Sandy is the man who brought over a lot of films from Japan to the US, including all the Gamera films. He's also been the butt of a lot of jokes on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Sandy was born on July 11, 1929, and as far as I can tell, is still alive today at age 95. He started out as a sales executive for Paramount Pictures, and then moved on to NBC Television. Eventually, he created his own company, Sandy Frank's Entertainment, which produced or distributed TV shows. Now, as far as I can tell, Sandy really didn't create anything, he just bought and sold other people's properties, which is alright. And he deserves a lot of credit. He was a salesman who made a living in television as an independent producer when almost all of TV was controlled by the big three networks. Now, like I said, he bought the rights to those Gamera films, and other films he brought to the US were Mighty Jack from '68, Battle of the Planets from 1979 to 1980, and the two Fugitive Alien films. And I think all of these were re-edited TV shows like our film today, Time of the Apes. Time of the Apes was from a 1974-75 26-episode Japanese TV show called Saru no Gundan, which translates into Army of the Apes, and condensed it into a 97-minute film. From what I understand, most of what Sandy used was from the first couple episodes and the last couple episodes. This is why the film, Time of the Apes, just jumps around and in some cases doesn't make much sense, but I'll get into that a little later. Now, this TV show was created after the American film Planet of the Apes and its 4 sequels became a huge hit in Japan. Now, strangely, the show actually has one aspect that makes it a little closer to the 1963 book by Pierre Boel than the famed American film. In the book, the apes have a very technically advanced society. That was changed, from what I understand, by 20th Century Fox for the film for budgetary reasons. Beyond that, there is very little connection between the two stories. I mean, the creators of the TV show were very aware that they had to avoid anything that might cause a lawsuit by 20th Century Fox. Anyway, once Planet of the Apes was shown on Japanese TV, Tsuburaya Productions quickly rushed this into production. Tsuburaya Productions was a company started by A.G. Tsuburaya. He was a special effects man who was responsible for the effects on all the early Godzilla films. And just before this, Tsuburaya Productions created the very successful Ultraman series. Now, when one watches this, they might want to consider, before judging it too harshly, that Sandy Frank was taking a 650-minute TV show and editing it down to 97 minutes. Then when you take into account the edits Mystery Science Theater made, cutting it down to 80 minutes, you can understand why the story might get confusing. I haven't watched all 26 episodes of the TV show, but I assume there's a lot more to it than what we saw. For instance, the end of the film, once they get to Green Mountain, they go into an entrance of a building. In the MST3K episode, we go from them walking into the building to them waking up in their own time. In the Sandy Frank film, there's a 10-minute scene in which they talk to a computer who is responsible for the whole thing, and it's that computer that sends them into the future, even though somehow they wind up in the past. I'll explain that later. But the Japanese TV show had a whole 26-minute episode with the four of them talking to the computer and going back in time. If you are interested in watching the complete 26 episodes, they're available on archive.org. The problem is they're in Japanese with no subtitles, so unless you speak Japanese, they're sort of hard to watch. Now, I don't know if there's any point in going over the people involved because, frankly, I don't know anything about them, but they all seem to be involved in Japanese TV, and I'm sure they are very good actors and such. How about this quick rundown? So what is Time of the Apes? Johnny is having breakfast with his parents and, well, he's being a bit disrespectful. It seems he's going to visit his Uncle Charlie at a lab with his friend Caroline. The problem is, however, there's been a series of earthquakes, but Johnny doesn't seem to care.
Oh! A tremor. Johnny, don't go. It's too dangerous.
I don't care. Come on, Caroline.
Enjoy yourselves.
See you later.
Goodbye. Be careful, both of you.
Questionable parenting, if you ask me. At the entrance to the lab, they are greeted by Catherine. The lab does experiments freezing monkeys, then thawing them out. So they are treated to the unthawing process. And the lab, like many labs in TV and films, has plenty of flashing lights to look at. One must have flashing lights.
Oh, it's alive. Yes.
There. As good as new.
We learn that the freezing, unfreezing process even works on people.
We've even experimented with human beings.
Really? Human beings?
Hmm.
It seems wrong to tamper with the laws of nature.
An age-old discussion.
Johnny, get out! Johnny! Johnny! Help!
Wouldn't you know it, an earthquake. They need to find a safe place to hide. How about those freezing pods? Now here's a scene cut from MST3K, the digging up of the pods in the future. Anyway, when they awake, where are they and when? You know, this might have been meant to be a surprise to the audience, but the name of the flick was Time of the Apes, so a surprise it wasn't. And somebody got a new zoom lens for Christmas. And the ape society seems a lot like the human society of the time that this film was made, but yet they still tie their prisoners to trees? Really?
I don't know, Johnny. It's all so strange. Catherine, I'm scared! Don't be afraid, we're with you. Why are there only apes
Well, you know, he's important because he wears spurs on his boots. This might have made sense if we ever saw him with a horse. Anyway, so they blindfold them, untie them, take them to the edge of a cliff, take off the blindfolds, get ready for a firing squad, but then the humans escape. Wait, if you wanted them dead, you had them tied to a tree. Then you had them blindfolded at a cliff's edge. But you waited till they started running away before you began shooting? If you were competent in your job as a soldier, this movie would have been like 10 minutes long. So they're on the run. Ah, the old hide under the bridge trick. Good thinking. So you just go up to a stranger's home and tear a hole in the wall? Nice. In America, we call that vandalism. A wolf boy, Eddie Munster. Nope, an ape friend, Pepe.
I hope it's all right. Our entering like this.
I don't mind.
They're chasing us.
Maybe they're in here. Around the house. This way. Over here.
Here, let's run.
And now they're back on the run. They wind up in a forest which has strange markings, and for some reason the ape villagers, who were chasing them, seem to be afraid. Now the military doesn't want them to go to a place called Green Mountain.
This is a very serious situation. They must never be allowed to cross the border and enter Green Mountain.
What is the deal with Green Mountain?
Oh, Johnny, watch out!
Oh wait, there's deadly traps everywhere. Now I assume these traps were set up to kill an invading army, but if a young lady and 2 kids can avoid them without getting hurt, well, maybe the person who set them up wasn't the most qualified to do so? And who set them up? This guy, Gordo.
I've so many things to ask you. We came here in a very strange way. Where are we? What is this place?
We're on Green Mountain.
This is Green Mountain.
Have you found them?
It seems that the ape army are afraid of a young lady and 2 children teaming up with one man who lives in a cave. They view him as a huge threat. All right. Civilians of Ape World, if these are your protectors, I'd be a bit worried.
Headquarters.
What did you say?
So Gordo makes friends with the newcomers while the army approaches.
I think we ought to take care of Caroline's wound.
Yes.
Those clothes are very torn.
Yes.
We have to find something for you. I'll look around.
Go on, faster, faster. Go on. Go on or I'll kill you. Forward! I said forward! You coward!
I'm not sure if this is the best way to treat your troops. I mean, haven't you ever heard of positive reinforcement? And here comes Pepe. So let's add in a flying saucer for extra spice. I want to stop right here and say that I bet if you watch the TV show, there was a better explanation of the flying saucers.
What is it, Pepe?
Gordo, the ape troops are coming here. They've set fire to the mountain.
What?
So Pepe and Gordo are friends, huh? Suddenly there's a fire in the forest, and Pepe's in trouble. After he's rescued by Gordo, the army finally captures this motley bunch. And for Gordo, there's a firing squad. But wait, who's this coming down the road?
Attention!
Your Excellency.
Excellent.
So one of the ape soldiers has an issue with Gordo, but Mr. Excellency takes the group to headquarters and puts Gordo in a jail cell. The man they call Excellency seems to be an alright dude.
Now remember, if you are good, no harm will come to you. Understand?
But still, it's Pepe to the rescue.
At last I have lived to see the day when I will kill you. It's taken a long time. For years I have thought of the pleasure it would give me.
Have you ever thought of therapy? I mean, this obsession you have with wanting Gordo dead is not healthy.
You will not escape me.
I'm asking you, let them go. They are innocent.
Silence!
As Tuco says in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly,
when you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
and for a while we are treated to Gordo, Johnny, and Pepe on the run, with the occasional shots of the flying saucer, a saucer that apparently specializes in flash photography. And Catherine is being interrogated. But then Johnny asks a good question.
I was wondering, that flying saucer seems to be everywhere, like it was following us. Do you think there's a special reason it's doing that?
Of course, every other person in the world might have said, "Oh my God, there's a freaking flying saucer. Art Bell was right." The trio go to rescue Catherine and Caroline. They send the young ape child Pepe to scout out the situation.
Hey, what are you doing here?
I'm going to see my father.
Your father is stationed here?
Yes, he's an officer.
Oh, I see. Well, go on. You shouldn't hang around here.
Goodbye.
Security in this military installation seems to be a little lax. And they even send Pepe to go get a wagon full of straw so they can hide.
We're there. Pepe, you're terrific.
Hey, you there.
So after they sneak around for a while and knock out a few guards, there is a tearful reunion.
It's me, Catherine. Johnny. 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 Catherine. Johnny. Johnny.
Catherine doesn't want to leave. She believes the promise that no harm would come to them. But the other three want to find more humans, so they force her to go. Suddenly and unexpectedly, Gordo is involved in a huge gun battle. I don't know where this came from, but there isn't one ape who could hit a target with a gun, although Gordo seems to kill a few. I get the feeling that we skipped a couple of episodes of the TV show.
It's that flying saucer again. Shoot it down!
Yes, sir.
Shooting down the flying saucer. Good idea.
Fire! What are you waiting for? Shoot it down! Fire! Fire! Our guns are shooting down!
The nuclear guns aren't working.
I think this is what they call comic relief. But this gives time for the humans to escape. They decide that they need to contact the aliens in the flying saucer. Okay?
I'm beginning to understand now. Unless I'm wrong, the organization known as UCOM is now trying to take over the ape country and wants us to leave.
Maybe they're getting ready to attack. UCOM has never attacked human beings. We should contact them and seek their protection, or the apes will get us.
We don't get a good explanation of how Catherine knows anything about this, the flying saucer, or the computer they call UCOM. I think Sandy Frank left us hanging here by cutting some important information out. Meanwhile, there's a failed military coup. Whatever. You might say, why is this in the film? It's explained at the end. Well, not in the MST3K version, but, well, again, we'll get there. So to make a long story short, they dump off Pepe with his mother, and she isn't happy about it. I must say I didn't even know Pepe was a female until this scene. So Gordo and the gang, who are almost to Green Mountain, come face to face with the man who wants Gordo dead. I think his name is Gaybar, so I'm gonna go with that.
Don't worry, Gordo. I've no soldiers. It's just you and I.
I'm in a hurry. I've no time for you today. I have more urgent business. When I've finished, then I'll see you. And we'll settle this matter.
Silence!
The thing is, Gaybar thinks Gordo killed his wife and child, and he wants to take revenge. When the aliens show up, after they make his gun useless, they give a short video presentation to show Gaybar why he's wrong. It turns out that Gordo tried to save Gaybar's family, and it was Gaybar himself who ended up killing them.
My son. I killed my own son.
It's not only nice that the aliens shot all this footage, but they edited it into a nice little short film. And then there's a little more about the flying saucer being an agent of Yukon.
Your Excellency, Yukom's been signaling us.
Be careful. It must be a trap to kill you.
But the flying saucer always used to help us, and it's an agent of Yukon.
It's a trick.
So the humans are invited to live with the apes, but they don't think they can. So they go off to Green Mountain because they believe that's where other human beings are. When they get there, they find this building. Now, like I said, the MST3K version has them entering the building and then waking up in their own time. In the Sandy Frank cut, they come across this computer, Yukon, a computer built by humans centuries earlier that is now controlling everything.
UEC. What does UEC mean?
Universal Ecosystems Control Computer.
Universal Control Computer. The supreme power.
Yes, the master of the entire universe.
But you didn't create yourself. Humans created you. Isn't that so?
That's correct.
It appears that humans built this computer to do their thinking for them and got the apes to fight their wars, so the computer determined that humans were no longer necessary and got rid of them. Hence, a planet of apes.
One more question. How many human beings are left on Earth?
At the present time in the entire universe, there are only 4 human beings.
Just 4?
Only us 4.
Catherine!
So, Yukon tells them that they are responsible for all the trouble on the planet. That before their arrival, all the apes lived in peace and harmony. It was because of them, you see, that there was this army coup and all that. My question would be is, if life is so perfect and peaceful, why do you need an army? I'm just saying. So they are given a choice. They can either be transported to a new planet or refrozen and wake up in the future.
We want to stay on Earth.
If you choose to stay on Earth, you can't be allowed to live with us in the present. You will have to travel into the future. After a lot of discussion, they decide to go to the future in the same pods that got them to the planet of the apes in the first place.
Those are deep freeze capsules.
Now, in the Sandy Frank cut, Gordo chickens out and tries to run, and then, I don't know, this happens. That's why when I watched the Sandy Frank cut, I got confused when Catherine was looking for Gordo when they got back.
But we were 4.
The third capsule was empty.
No, it can't be. Gordo was with us, a young man.
You've been under great stress. You must have had some kind of hallucination.
But you see, in the original, before they enter the pods, Gordo comes back and joins them in the pods.
Gordo. Gordo. Gordo.
Sandy Frank, if you would have added this 15 seconds of footage, you could have avoided a lot of confusion. So they wind up back in their own time. Apparently, they were in Ape Land for 6 months, though only 7 days had gone by in the human world. And how did they wind up back in their own time if they were being frozen with the idea to send them into the future?
I understand now. It's all very clear.
Huh?
Instead of your progressing into the future, you reversed into the past. But there was another factor, the extremely low temperature, which caused the time scale to warp. And therefore, the deep freeze capsule acted as a time converter.
It sounds simple, doesn't it?
Hey, let's not put too much thought into it. Well, that's it. That's our film. Everybody's happy. Well, except Gordo. He's on some desert planet, and who knows his fate. But that's not our problem.
Gordo, wherever he is now, he'll always be in our hearts.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So in both the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version and the Sandy Frank version, there's sort of a confused plot, and that might have been from the editing. I mean, you're editing this long 26-episode TV show down to 97 minutes. But also I wonder, how close was the English translations to the original Japanese that was spoken when they filmed it? I would have no idea. Now about the music, I thought it was enjoyable. Sometimes maybe their choices were a little questionable, but I'm not complaining. In fact, why don't we listen to the theme song from the show? And then, of course, we have that song translated into English.
Sandy Frank, Sandy Frank, he's the source of all our pain. Sandy Frank, Sandy Frank, get about the house all day. Sandy Frank, Sandy Frank, things that people come from trees. Sandy Frank, gets hard movies from Japan.
Anyway, I really don't have a lot more to talk about when it comes to the film, but since I have time, I thought I'd give a quick history lesson. You see, in the MST3K episode, they do a reenactment of the 1925 Scopes monkey trial. The thing is, most people's idea of that trial comes from the film Inherit the Wind, the film starring Spencer Tracy, Frederick March, and Gene Kelly. The thing is, that film was a highly fictionalized version. They were really responding to the chilling effects of McCarthyism, which was happening at the time. The actual Scopes monkey trial, it was a scam. It was a staged event to attract publicity to the small town of Dayton, Tennessee, where the trial was held. John T. Scopes, the teacher on trial for teaching evolution, might not have even taught evolution. He just agreed to be the defendant in this case. All that stuff about Scopes being arrested in class while teaching and all the ignorant townspeople and everything, that was all made up for the movie. None of it ever happened. And anyway, why don't we watch the best of this episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Sandy Frank,
Sandy Frank,
here we go again. Hey.
They look like they're on a playground. They must be recess monkeys.
I'm gonna pull off that arm.
Don't hurt me.
Say, jeez. Oh. Steven Seagal in Shoot the Monkey.
Is there anyone else who refuses to follow my orders?
Yo, down here. I need some discipline. Yoo-hoo. Nuts. Didn't hear me.
The smoke's too thick. We can't stay here. Let's go. Hurry, hurry.
Out here where the plot is thinner.
Wow, there was a bear with a ranger hat on and he kept screaming,
"Only you."
Monkeys. I hate them.
Is there a screwdriver?
No, how about a Bloody Mary?
Here's one. Oh, I got it, Pepe. I always carry one. Great.
Oh, great. Welcome to Plot Convenience Playhouse.
Talk about. pop music.
Everybody talking about...
I refuse to listen to you any
My
longer.
name is Inigo Montoya.
Gordo, now prepare to die.
Oh, I've seen this one.
Yeah.
Hold on!
Boy, the color is terrible. I think they can do something about that. You know, in films, this is where getting Final Cut really pays off.
Yep.
I did it! I finally did it! Damn me all to hell!
One day, different people will learn to live together in
Message.
peace and harmony.
This is the message.
I'll
Message,
gladly send
people.
an escort with you,
Message.
but my men will not go to
Message,
Green Mountain.
Paul.
There's the flying saucer!
There's the flying saucer!
I'm Francis Farmer.
And therefore, the deep freeze capsule acted as a time converter.
Oh, this movie's even stupider than I thought it was. Here we go.
Sandy Frank, guns about the house all day.
Thanks for watching, and if you have time, I would appreciate you checking out my documentary about Virginia Weidler. I know it's over an hour long, and I've been told many times that my documentaries are always way too long, but it's just the way I like to do things. And this took me over 6 months to put together, so I'm pretty proud of it. Anyway, next week I'll be looking at the 1959 B-movie Daddy-O starring Dick Cantillo, Sarah Giles, and Bruno Bisotto. And if I pronounced any of those names wrong, I'll try to get it right next week. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. You be good, you stay healthy, and you come back next week, okay? All right. Take care. Bye-bye.